What I am about to show you is disturbing. Keep in mind, Tyra is a damage champion, not a tank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7! 7 shots from Cassie. She reloaded and she wasn't able to kill me with the next follow-up shot. Yeah. Paladins has a massive time to kill or TTK issue right now, where quite simply, characters are too gosh darn tanky and they will not die. And it's due to a combination of many different factors, the first of which I have just shown you here with Tyra, and it is the fact that items which increase your effective hit points are way too strong right now. Armor plating, veteran, and to a lesser extent arcane warding are simply too good. And they are creating issues where characters are becoming tanks. Every single damage character, every single flank in the game can become a tank if they just invest into these items and max them out. And this is due, in part, to the item store rework, which has had the design philosophy of buffing items to make items feel like more impactful choices and to give you more build diversity. And in many ways, they have succeeded. More people are buying Life Rip now because it's twice as effective. More people are buying Deft Hands and Lethality because they're cheaper. More people are buying Guardian because it's cheaper and it scales higher. And these are all good things. But they took it too far with the items that specifically increase health. Armor plating used to be Haven, and Haven used to be way more expensive and scale at 6%. Veteran used to be more expensive and scale at 5.5%. When they changed the item store, they buffed both of these items. They buffed armor plating to 8%, they buffed veteran to 7%. And they nerfed these items recently. They're still stronger than they used to be, and they're still cheaper than they used to be. Armor plating is supposed to be situational because it reduces damage taken from weapons, but it doesn't reduce damage taken from abilities. So it's like, ooh, you're still taking more damage, except that's actually not the way it plays out in the match because most of the damage that you take comes from weapons. And because this damage reduction scales higher than Old Haven did, it means that characters are now way harder to kill than they used to be. And the same goes for Veteran, where if you scale both of these items, you could make characters ridiculously tanky. And then of course, you can pair these with survival builds to take it to an absurd extreme. And Tyra is probably the absurdest of extremes when it comes to these builds, because she's a naturally very tanky damage champion. When you pair these items with Mercykill and a max HP build, which simply has the max health card and In the Fray for damage reduction, you can do what I just did there, which is take 7 shots from Cassie and live to tell the tale. And the build isn't necessarily the problem, because, well, Tyra is supposed to be tanky because she has no mobility, and, well, by itself, standalone, it's not overpowered, it's not busted. It's when you throw these items into the mix and stack them onto the build that it becomes a problem. And because these items are accessible on every single character, it means every single character can run the health card and just become a tank. But of course, there's another major factor which is contributing to the time to kill problem in Paladins right now, and that is healing. Simply put, most healers heal for way too much right now. Much of the healing class has been turned into, well, pretty much just different variations of a heal bot, and Io is one of the most popular examples right now, and as you can see here, it is not challenging at all to out-heal Cassie. As a matter of fact, we can just waste Moonlight here, because Cassie physically is incapable of doing enough damage to out-heal our healing. Now, of course, anti-healing, Cauterize, exists in the game, and that is amazing because otherwise supports would be overpowered as crap. But there are ways to mitigate the effects of Cauterize as well, and that also makes healing a problem. Not to mention the fact that in early game, if you stack up this healing with, I don't know, Armor Plating 1, Veteran 1, which is very feasible in early game, people are already just so hard to kill. But here's how you can deal with Cauterize, right? You put up shields, cleanse Cauterize. You can still heal for this much in late game. Or, of course, you can buy Rejuvenate and use cards which increase the amount of healing you receive from other healers, right? So Rejuvenate did get a nerf when the item store got reworked, but it still scales up to 30%. And the way Rejuvenate works is that it stacks additively against Cauterize. So when Cauterize is at 90%, if you have Rejuvenate 3, that turns it down into just 60%, right? It chops that 30% off. and that quadruples the amount of healing you get in late game because it goes from 10% healing to 40% healing, making this item ridiculously powerful and further contributing to the TTK issue. Not even necessarily because Rejuvenate is too strong, but because the healing, at which Rejuvenate is applied to, is just so gosh darn strong. Not to mention, many supports have other ways to help their team stay alive besides healing. For example, with Io, she can use Goddess Blessing to reduce the damage taken by Fernando by 15% while he's getting healed, which just compounds the issue even further. And if you look at most of the supports right now, most of them are heal bots in some capacity. Ying, a heal bot, heals too much. Pip, a heal bot with Combat Medic. Seris, a heal bot. Io, a heal bot. Grover, a heal bot with some damage thrown in. Thankfully he got Deep Roots back, and that's some utility, right? But most of the supports are just based on how much healing they can do, and whichever healer heals the most, that's the support that's going to be meta. We need to shift away from this by fundamentally changing how we think about supports and giving supports more unique identities and more utility, making them more situational and comp dependent. So that way, the best support isn't just who heals the most. The best support is dependent on your situation and which specific buffs and utility you need the most. Supports used to have that, but much of that identity has either been lost or muddied up in this, I guess, arms race to see who can heal the most and who can get the most healing buffs. And so, the support class in general, a lot of supports need to have their healing diminished, they need to have more utility, and that would greatly help with both diversifying the support meta, but also dealing with this TTK issue that we have in Paladins. And all of these TTK issues, right, the items, the builds, the healing, all of this results in a lot of characters feeling like crap right now, but especially those who rely on burst damage, right? Let's take Strix as an example. Strix is an extreme case of this, where Strix is very negatively impacted right now due to the current meta we're in, because Strix delivers one big burst of damage, but with a very slow fire rate. And what this means is that when the enemies buy armor plating to reduce Strix's damage, which is all weapon damage, so all his damage gets affected by this, he all of a sudden needs to take one extra shot to finish off a target. And with a fire rate that's this slow, that is a major hit to his TTK. But a 3-shot is actually pretty generous in today's meta, because when you buy armor plating and then stack that with the healing that characters can receive, by golly, Strix usually needs to 4-shot characters in some instances, if he's not able to hit that headshot. And that just sends the TTK through the roof for this character. What is normally a TTK of roughly 2 seconds turns into 3, 4, 5 seconds. God forbid if you're shooting a tank. And this is true for so many characters in the game right now. It's not just Strix we have to worry about. Anyone who relies on burst damage, right? One impact of damage with a slow fire rate is very negatively affected right now. Whether you're talking about Maeve, Eevee, Sha Lin, Vatu, Drogos, Bomb King, Dredge, Cassie, the list goes on. All of these characters are so negatively affected right now, and it makes them feel really bad to play once this damage reduction ramps up. And that's the last thing you want in your hero shooter, your fantasy hero shooter that's all about the power fantasy, right? And having cool builds and flying around and doing flashy plays and stuff like that. The last thing you want is for this game to turn into a pillow fight, which is exactly what's happening right now with these items, with this healing, with all of these changes to the TTK. Quite simply, it's taking too long to kill characters in this game due to the meta. So as always, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Or do you think I am horrendously off base? Have I missed something in my analysis of the TTK in this game? What would you do to fix it? Would you nerf healing more? Would you nerf the items more? Would you change health guards? How would you change the dynamic of this game to make it feel a little bit better, especially for these characters that are in that sad threshold where they don't have ridiculously high DPS, they rely on burst, they have slow fire rates, and the TTK issues just make them feel awful to play. Let me know all that in the comment section down below. If you liked this video, of course, drop a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.